Good evening. My name is Annette Weissman. I live at 12415 Keystone Island Drive. I'm also a principal of a very large school in Sunny Isles Beach, Norman S. Settlecup, Sunny Isles Beach K-8. I, too, am a resident in Keystone Point. I, too, have 2 meters. When we purchased the house had 2 meters. We were told that this was a good thing, as Steve Bass has said, because it would be able to accurately tell the amount of water that we are using. It so happens that my meter is a 1.5-inch meter. I've learned an awful lot about water and sewer and meter. This is really not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is running schools, managing schools, and educating our children. So, and actually we do feed into Alonzo and Tracy Morning Senior High, so we do have a nice relationship with the city of North Miami. However, I am here today to discuss the issue of my second meter. It's my understanding that my base on the second meter is $100 per month. So before I even start using a drop of water, and I told my husband to turn off the backflow, that we're not going to use the water anymore for the sprinkler because it costs me $100 before I even let any water come through. Again, as Steve said, I think this is very discriminatory. I think there's an injustice. I think it's unfair. I think the way we're treating the people really is, I could even say, to the point of unconstitutional. Again, we were told to do something. We did it in the best interest. We went to the expense of doing something like this, and now we're being penalized, we're being punished, and we're being charged. Many, many residents on our island, on the whole Keystone Point, are elderly. They're on fixed incomes, and now they have to incur additional expenses. I mean, people are people, fair is fair, and I really don't think it's fair that we should be charged more if we're giving you an accurate description. I don't mind paying for water, and I want to pay for the water that I use. My bill, there's a lag, I understand, so I'm always paying 3 months behind, I think, the way it's rated. So 6 months ago, I had a $700 irrigation. I call it, I separate it by water and sewer and my irrigation. I had a $700 irrigation bill. I said, well, maybe we used a lot of water. I don't know. So I paid my bill. 3 months ago, I had a $900 irrigation bill. I called the city. I said, what's going on? They said, you must have a leak. So that cost me almost $3,000 by the time I got people out there to check everything to see what was going on. And lo and behold, there was a leak. So we fixed the leak. That cost me a few $1,000s. Then I'm waiting for my next bill. Now my next bill should be, I think, in March. So March, I'm waiting to see what this bill is going to be, and I think I'm going to be extremely upset that if it's still in the same numbers, because I really stopped using my water. So, in conclusion, this is the first meeting that I've attended in the city council, and I've lived here quite some time. However, I never really had an issue. I never had a problem. I really don't like to make waves. I really don't like to start trouble. I kind of go with the flow. But the flow is costing me an awful lot of money. And I work very, very hard for my money. My husband works very hard for his money. My husband is now retired, so I'm working very hard for the two of us. And now I'm here to talk to you to say, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that the person to the right of me or the person to the left of me is paying less money than I am for using the exact same amount of water. So, with all due respect to all of you, I just wanted to come here and tell you how I feel. Thank you.
Good evening, Carol Keys, 12550 Palm Road, and also the new president of our KPHA Homeowners Association. First, I'd like to thank you, Councilman Galvin, for bringing this back a second time, because the first time you brought it back, nobody wanted to discuss it. So, thank you. I did bring this up a couple weeks ago at Citizens Forum. I've done a lot of research on the bills. I've spoken to our manager, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Ghani. I've met with him and our director. And basically, the people with second meters First of all, there's 484 second meters in Districts 1 and 2. There are only 14 in District 3, and there are none in District 4. The people in Keystone have a hardship. They cannot put wells on Keystone, San Souci, east of the boulevard. They cannot put wells in their property because the water from the wells would be too salty and you can't use it for irrigation. So first thing, they do have a hardship and do have no choice other than if they want to use water without using the sewage system, they've got to go to city water. There is a base fee of, I think most of the pipes in the meters are about 1 inch, and it's $22.50 a month. Ms. Weinstein, who just spoke, had no idea, but she bought a house. It had a 1.5 inch meter. The cost of that cost of that meter is over $100 a month just to have the meter. That's before she uses water. The second disparity of our water bills is that anybody using sprinkler water pays $3.18 per 1,000 gallons. A residential home starts closer to $1.70 for the first 5,000 gallons. So right off the bat, you're charging sprinkler users or second meter users, you're charging them more than double of what the rest of the city is charged. And I don't know how this discrimination, this irregularity came out, but it's really not fair. It's hurting the people. I've spoken to the manager and Mr. Ghani that you go back to the company that did the study and see how we can eliminate the base fee for the second sprinklers or greatly eliminate it. And I think we should go back to charging second meters the same price for water. If they use the first 1 through 5,000, you charge them $1.70. Don't charge them double. Also, I would like to point out on the bills, because I went over the bills with Mr. Vernon, that the new bills do not tell you, especially on the irrigation, they don't tell you what size meters you have anymore. So when someone sees a $600 bill, they don't realize, like Ms. Weinstein, she doesn't realize that over 300 of it is just for the privilege of having the second meter. So I'm asking that you relook at these bills because they do not set out what's water and what's not. And I really request that you look at this for the people of the people who have second meters, because it's really not fair. And I understand there's budget problems. You're supposed to put money away for reserves, but I would also like to see where the money is actually going. If all the meter charge, those base fees, are actually going into our reserves. Thank you.
Good evening. Sharon Pilch, 12945 Ortega Lane, Keystone Point. My concern was the first start, the beginning start for that second meter is at the highest rate for residential. Shouldn't be that. Historically, it's always the beginning rate of residential. So my bill went from $1.14 to $3.24 when the water increased. I would love to think it only doubled, but my meter bill went from $150 quarterly to $496. That's just my irrigation meter. So it's not doubled, it's tripled or more. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eddie Molliner. I'm a pretty much recent citizen of North Miami. I came from Miami Springs. I don't know what the issue is. In Miami Springs, we all have wells. They got the sprinkler water from there. People even actually fill their pools with the sprinkler water and just use a little bit extra Clorox and got it fixed. Here, I was told that we can't use the wells because we have salt water underneath. So at the end of the day, I feel that water is water. Everyone should be charged the same amount for the usage of water. Now, I understand what they were saying, that if you have a bigger pipe, you pay more. The only difference that I would say is that you might have a little more water pressure if you have a bigger pipe than you have a small one. But at the end of the day, if you're using 1,000 gallons on one bigger pipe or you're using 1,000 gallons on a small pipe, you're still using 1,000 gallons. So 1,000 gallons should be charged the same way on either side. Now, if one meter is only used for the sprinkler system, that means not being brought back by the sewer system, that should not be charged any differently than the rest. because if the water usage should be fair, then it should be fair for everyone on both sides. You should charge more if it's being used through the sewer system, because obviously that water needs to be treated. But if that water is not being treated and is being used for irrigation purposes, then that should only be charged for the usage of the water. I don't understand why even we have different charge for different pipes of, the water pressures. The different types of the pipes that you have. But I just plead, man, I don't have that case in my case, but obviously I was thinking putting a sprinkler system, but now from what I'm hearing, if I put that second meter, it's going to cost me a lot more than if I just use the regular meter and, pay the sewer fee on it. Thank you.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. Many years ago, almost 20 years ago, when I moved into the house that I live in now, it had 2 meters. I don't have a pool, I don't have a sprinkler system, and it was there. 5 years or so later, I started getting a second meter fee on my bill, and I went and asked, what is this? And they said, well, you have a second meter in the ground. And they told me that we used to encourage people to put the second meter so that their water would be cheaper if they had a sprinkler system, if they had a pool, that they would not have to pay the outflow to the sewer system. And it was a win-win for the city, because the city is only doing the sewer collection as a pass-through to the county, since the county treats our sewer waste. So they said, we've encouraged and even used to put meters in for free. Sometimes they started charging them over the years. And I said, well, I don't want my second meter because I don't need it. So they took the second meter out, and it was at the same time they were moving the meters in my particular neighborhood from the backyards to the front yards.
Cool.
And it was, and has always been, encouraged that you have a second meter, because you're only going to be charged the same rate of water as if you were using it going into your household. If you look at the current standard, the city is gouging the residents by charging them the highest rate possible right now going in for the first 1,000 gallons. And as you've heard numerous speakers, approximately $3.83 for the first 1,000 gallons. And as the previous gentleman just said, it's the same water, whether it's going into the house to take a bath with or going in through another meter to water the lawn with. It's the exact same water. You should not have a discrepancy of that amount of money. It's just not fair. And you need to make sure, one of the things you ought to be looking at is the sewer, water and sewer rate, the treatment. If you look at that part of your bill, how much that has increased over the last couple of years. And I know the county collects the majority of it. We have a small fee that we tacked on to that as part of collecting that money. But it's getting out of hand, those fees. But there, again, should be no discrepancy between the amount of the first 1,000 gallon or first 5,000 gallons that you use to wash yourself or to wash your yard or to put in your pool. The water is the water, and it was there at the city's urging to encourage the residents so that our sewer lines would not be using that extra capacity and to keep us in line with some other rates and studies and so forth. But again, I think the finance department needs to relook at their new rates. There's trials and tribulations when you go through rate studies, and it takes time to balance things out. I think this is one of those times you need to go back and look at it and see where it can be tweaked and adjusted. I don't think it's any malice on anybody's part yet, but let's see if you can get it corrected. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the audience. Joseph Haber, 2096 Alameda Drive, Keystone Point, District 2. I commend you on dealing with the water bills. My water bill's gone down. Other people that I've talked to have said their water bills have gone down. A few people said they've gone up. And then, of course, this whole second water bill issue, why is this even an issue, is my question to the council and to the city manager. Why are we even discussing this 2 months after it was brought up? I mean, this should have been solved already. This is not complicated, but it's a thorn in the side, and it's just horrible. It's horrible on many levels, and it's horribly unfair. And it should have been resolved already. So without going into all the details why, please act fast and just, clean this mess up so we can move forward onto other important issues. Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Annie Montgomery, 2082 Lauren Lane. I have 2 meters. When I built my home, we put in an extra meter for the sprinklers and the pool. Nobody told us to do it. And I want you all to know it's not a privileged people that have these meters. This is something that you do so that your water doesn't have to go through the sewer treatments that will also cost money. So it was to everybody's advantage, including the cities, to have the second meter. It was costly to put the meter in, but we do pay a base every month, and we never use the amount that we were being charged, or even on our home meter. So I think it's ridiculous that we're getting overcharged, or the cost of having a sprinkler system with this 1 meter, this second meter. It is foolish on our city part, and it's not fair to the residents that cannot have a well to irrigate their lawn. So please consider reducing this fee to the normal water fees. Thank you.
Public hearing is now closed.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak first because I have to leave?
Sure.
Thank you. I have a very extremely early flight to go to. It's interesting to see that the water bill discussion kind of switched. Couple of months ago, it was a totally different group that actually come before us every so often discussing the water bill. When I thought that we solved the water bill is back again. I know that although that it was not the water bill issue, it mostly was the garbage issues that everybody called it the water bill because it was associated with the water bill. But I know a lot of constituents come and advocates that not to privatize, although that they know it was going to be benefit to a lot of constituents that couldn't pay the so-called water bill. So I guess that the discrimination goes for the rich, for the poor, for the black, for the white, specifically when it's dealing with your pocket. I think that we are city, we should serve blacks, white, the poor, and the rich, and whomever that have. Again, another issue, it's so unfortunate to see that this so-called privilege having 2 meters, the city staff has the courage to go to we have a city about 60,000 residents, 4 districts. I know 1980 something, I'm not gonna say the correct date, people will realize how old I am. When I moved in the city, it was in the 80s. It was not an all black district when I moved on. And it was not an all Haitian district neither. But I'm wondering, and there is pool in my district, and there are sprinkler system in my district, right, Annie? So I wonder why not even 1 house is with 2 meters in my district. And I'm sorry, I'm not asking question. If I have to ask question, I would ask to staff, which I know this staff cannot answer because they were not there. Back then, where staff would actually choose a couple of houses, or actually people, let me put it the other way, or people that actually care for the city, that come to staff, or however that the information goes about, but had the privilege to have 2 meters in the water bill was less than others. That was discrimination, I think, as well. And I'm not saying that right now, if you feel the discrimination, it might be. But other constituent has been discriminated for years, and that was not fair. And tonight, if the city has to stop this discrimination against to those that has been privileged, In the back, we need to stop. Having said all that, I would suggest that, I'm not even make a motion, suggest that we remove all 2 second meters for single housing in the entire city. So everybody will pay the same, or we actually provide second meters to every resident in the city, because we have about how many houses, single family houses in the city? More than what?
Roughly about 13,000.
13,000. And I'm sure that there are probably more than 100 houses that have sprinkler system or pool that actually, for the past how many years, paying for water that's not supposed to go to the sewer. So right now, if we're talking about discrimination, you know that I can advocate for my constituent, although that they don't come to council meeting. That's what I was elected for. So if we're talking about discrimination, let's make it right. Let's do it the right way. And I agree, and you guys know that I admired your courage, because you advocate for your district. And I wish that my constituent can come here and fight and scream and ask for what they deserve. But they don't do it. Hey, it's on them. But I'm here to advocate for them. So I'm not going to stop you. If we're going to do it for one, we're going to do it for the entire city. And it's so unfortunate to see that staff, I'm sorry, not you guys, but staff back then had the courage to go and allowed a handful of houses to enjoy the privilege that so many other residents could have enjoyed right now. So, anyways, I apologize. I have to leave because I do have a flight. Mr. Mayor?
Okay, enjoy your flight.
Thank you.
Now, have a safe trip.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilman Blen?
I spoke to the city manager about this, about 10 days ago?
Correct.
I told them we eliminate the extra charge, or the base charge, for the second meter. It was absolutely irresponsible. There's no reason for us to pay for that at all. It's what everyone said here tonight. It's discriminatory. In all due respect, you've created a situation, and I think in a lawsuit, you would lose. It's really reached a point where we're paying too much money for something that is totally unfair. What is your decision on that? Did you research that matter? You asked me to research it.
Is that up to the city council to make that decision?
No.
Go ahead.
City manager?
Through the mayor, Councilman Glenn, you asked a specific question, and we are in the process of getting the answer to your question, and that was how much money would it cost if we were to remove the second meters, the base cost.
You told me.
So we're in the process of getting that.
It's about $300,000, isn't it?
That was an approximate number, but we're getting a
Yeah.
correct accounting from our
Because
consultant.
I have a second, just like the other 496 others, 495. I would like to have it completely dropped and have the water rate for the second meter brought down to $1.14, the lowest rate the city residents could pay, ladies and gentlemen, because it's untreated water, correct? So why not pay the lowest rate? So it's my desire to eliminate that cost to our residents and to bring the lowest rate possible, a $1.14 rate per gallon for anything on the second meter. And that's unequivocally what should happen, without a doubt. Eliminate it. You're discriminating against us. You're looking at a class action, which I'd be happy to finance, frankly, because you are taking advantage of the people on the east side who went out of their way to help the city in the first place. It's really, really a disgrace.
Yes, the city is going to be sued. Councilman Marsalis?
Yeah, and I really don't think this situation is a water situation or discrimination situation, or I only simply think it's an administrative situation. The administration has to get together and to solve that issue. I really believe it's unfair. It's unfair if the people are charged that much and triple the charge, and I really believe we have to work and to solve that issue. We cannot go on with this thing like that. And as far as discriminations, I don't believe there is nothing like that at all, or neither is a water situation. It's a simply administrative problem. Why don't we get together and Mr. City Manager with the Public Works Director and study that issues and look at it very closely, and what is going to be the advantages for the people, for the 484 people who has the second meter, and we treat them accordingly. And I don't think it's really fair to charge them triple for that water bill. There is no way. And Councilman Blaine, I don't think this thing is not that far or that close to be a discriminations, and we're going to have a lawsuit. Let's drop this thing right there. And Mr. City Manager, please do a due diligence and find a way to solve this problem, because it's not two cities, it's only one city. If it's happened on the past, that's the past, okay? If the previous administrations allowed this thing to happen, and for these people to have a second meter, or for the other who do not have it, let's leave this. That's water under the bridge. But we have to fix this situation right now. The present situations, that's the one we have to concentrate on and solve it. And besides, there is what we call a hardship. The salt water, they cannot have it. The things. We have to look at all these things and solve it, and work on it and solve it, and do it fast. Don't delay on it, and don't make it an issue where it's not necessary.
Okay, so are you making a motion to take out what, $400,000 so we could
yes,
pay for it? Is that your motion, Marcellus?
Listen, I don't make a motion to take anything.
So how do you want to fix it?
I just advise the city manager and with the public director, the public works director, and to look to that issue and to study that issue, to make a research to see how it's going to benefit the citizens, the 484 citizens that have the meters. That's it. And they can do it, and after they conduct a study, they can come over and say, this is the way they believe they can solve it. And that's it. Okay? We never have any study conduct on this matter before. Right, City Manager?
Through the Mayor, Councilman Marcellus, a study has been conducted. What you're asking me to do is to go back to our consultant to project calculations.
Okay, the study that we have is on the waterways. The study that we have is on the waterways. That's correct. The water study that we had, if you use that amount of water, you have to pay that much. That's the study that we had.
Through the Mayor, Councilman.
I'm talking about the one that have the second meter. We never have any study for them.
Through the Mayor, Councilman Marcellus, there was a study conducted on it, is what I'm trying to explain. So the study was very comprehensive. It was a water conservation mandate that we had to implement in order to continue to provide the service. A lot of what is being brought before us is regulatory requirement. We had to implement a water conservation plan, and not only did it include water conservation, but for the future anticipated repairs of our system. And the rate that was brought to us from our consultants that was regulatory, it dealt with irrigation, it dealt with providing a service. And when people mention the larger diameter pipes, that is a service, because there's an expectation that the flow of that water should be at a higher pressure. So when someone says, what difference does it make with how big the pipe is? It makes a big difference, because we are now required, according to regulatory, to be able to provide the amount of pressure that diameter pipe is calling for. So if we didn't do that, and that's a charge to the system, we can tell you that if the second meter did not exist And if the usage of the irrigation was on the 1 meter, the water rate would be even higher. It would not be lower.
Because you have a bigger pipe?
I'm saying that if you were to calculate using a standard water bill who has a second meter, if you were to remove the second meter, including the base charge, and put that on the first meter, the total cost of the water bill would be higher. It would be higher because now you have to be charged for the sewer. And Mr. Bass is correct. We have no way of determining what consumption is irrigation and what is not irrigation. So therefore, the regulatory agencies require us to make that determination and not guess. So hence comes in the second meter. But keep in mind, if someone took out their second meter and said, I don't want a second meter, I don't want a base charge, if you took that consumption and put it through the main meter, your water bill would be astronomically higher because your usage would be higher. So the best that...
Yeah, but people would conserve their water if it was higher, and it would be spread over 15,000 homes instead of 496 who are paying an unfair rate.
I think what you're saying, Councilman, is that people would use less water.
Absolutely.
And
that's
that is
basic economic
that is a
concept.
Each individual residential choice. However, based upon our calculations and the usage, the average usage for irrigation, if you put that on the main bill and compare it to having a second meter, the rate is lower. I understand.
But I'm not people asking them to eliminate the second meter. I'm just asking them to eliminate the base charge and charge the lowest possible charge for water that is untreated.
Yeah, give me a second. Councilman Marcellus, you finished?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. In other words, what you try to tell me, Mr. Manager, there is no remedy for that situation.
Based upon the water rate study that is required by regulatory practices in the agencies for us to get the permit to continue to provide the service, we were mandated to implement a water rate plan. And what is done is they look at the usage and the demand on the system. And you have to come up with a calculation that is based upon regulatory requirements to take in consideration the diameter of the pipe, whether it's a half inch, 3/4, full inch, inch and a half, and therefore, if a person has a larger pipe, then there is a cost to that the regulatory agencies require us to put. Mainly because if that resident wants a bigger diameter pipe, we are required to provide them with the service that they expect. So most people have a larger pipe because they have a lot going on. And when they have a lot going on, they want to make sure that they have the pressure that they need and so forth. So therefore, we are required by law as a service provider to provide for those type of services. Unfortunately, those type of services cost. According to the regulatory agencies, we must charge accordingly. What the issue is that the residents are being charged for a second meter, the base cost. So one would theoretically look at it, why am I being charged for a second meter? Why don't you put that on the first meter? Well, if we did that, then your cost would be astronomically high because of the sewer charge. So we put it on the second meter. Unfortunately, we're required to implement a base charge. Now, this mayor and council should realize that the cost of removing just the sprinkler systems that we have, $421,000. But if you remove the base charge for the current users and you open up the floodgates for everybody else to come and get a second meter, then you are now impacting the study, and I'm not even for sure if we could do that regulatory without it being, I think there's regulatory requirements that prohibit us from allowing that. So if you would like for me to bring the consultant in, bring in the regulatory laws, look at what the impact would be to the city, and how those charges would be recalculated, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yes,
But
I would
I can-
like you to do that.
I can tell you that regulatory, we are required to charge for specific uses. We have no choice in that. We're in the business of providing a water service. The water district has regulatory rules to prohibit us from doing whatever we want to do, no matter how it may impact us. So we may want to do something, we may desire to wipe things away, but the proper thing is to get the regulatory agencies in here to explain to you. I'd be more than happy to have an executive session so that we can explain to you and let the regulatory agencies explain it to you. So you may want to do something that you may be in violation of a regulatory rule.
Have a town meeting on it.
But listen to that. I think we face a situation, and there must be a solution for it. If the people realize if they charge right now triple for the water bill, regardless where they live, if it's in the east side of the city, the central, or the west side of the city, it's still the city of North Miami. We have to take this thing in consideration. We have to take a look at it, and we cannot let this thing happen. It's impossible. Okay? I think we have to come to a situation to the situations, call this the study people, and let's find out what can we do if there is any possibility to solve that situations. That's the only thing that I suggest you to do.
Through the mayor, Councilman Marcellus, I do agree that there needs to be a full explanation, and that is what staff has been doing. We are trying to get a full comprehensive understanding of what is required regulatory, what impact would it have to the city. We're also asking how can that be redistributed, if it can be redistributed, as far as the cost, and what would happen. We need to know what ifs. So if we took away the base charge, what if additional people all of a sudden said, you know what, I don't want to use well water because it makes my yard, it discolors my house. So therefore, because you moved the rate charge in an area that has to have it because of saltwater intrusion, now that you remove that, I want to come and get a second meter, and I want you to waive my base meter charge because I don't like the color of the water from the water well, from the groundwater. So we need to look at that so we can better inform the council of what is the proper decision to make. We would be more than happy to get that information. We're in the process of getting that information, but we cannot take a knee-jerk reaction without getting all of the players to the table. If you take away a base charge in one area, you have to anticipate that somebody else in another area is not going to like the color of water that they're getting, of the impact that it has on the house, and you can't deny anybody else from having a second meter. And what does that mean? I don't know, but I would like to get all the players to the table and find out before we make a decision without being well informed.
How long will that take?
I need some time, and I can.
We're overpaying every month.
Well, I understand that, Councilman, but I have to bring the people together. I hate to say 2 weeks and then 2 weeks is not done. I would say I would at least need 30 to 45 days to bring the regulatory agents in here and to have a good comprehensive understanding so you can understand citywide what this means.
That would be the first meeting in March then.
I would do my best to attempt to do that. But I do understand people having that They need to know that understanding. And we, as a council, my direction to you is before you say take away a base charge, look at what impact it could have citywide. Maybe there may be a better answer, a better solution. Give me time to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, if you're going to take out the base charge, now any future meters that come in, you cannot charge them for the base charge.
That's my concern.
But it makes sense. I mean, that's
sure.
That's the way.
And what impact does that have on the entire water rate structure that we're mandated to put in place? I don't know.
But if the city wants to pay for it, if the city council wants to pay for it, I mean, your job is to find the money, but that's not your decision. It's this board decision. I mean, that's the way I see it. If that's what we want to do up here, that's what we will do.
And right now it's 421,000. We did get the information back. It's 421,000.
That should be distributed to every resident. That's not on the backs of the people on the 496. That's totally unfair, and you know it is.
Okay, Councilman Galvin.
Thank you. I'm glad to finally have the chance to say something on the item that I asked to be on the agenda. But I have to echo greatly what Councilman Marcellus said. Let's just quickly do a study, bring back some results. We've put a rover on Mars. There's got to be a way to look at the rate structures that we have before us and find out if there's not something that's more equitable. I don't think there was any purposeful discriminatory effort made when we implemented these water rates. I think it's just one of those things that nobody thought of. Now that it's come to light, we owe it to our constituency to address it and see if there's not some way to either restructure it, lower it, or simply educate the community as to why it is what it is, because we can't just say there's nothing we can do. I'm thankful to hear the council tonight willing to let you go forward and look at all the possibilities and then come back to us at the beginning of March with some thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay, tab O.
Discussion regarding two properties, 1410 Northeast 132nd Road and 13181 Northeast 14th Avenue.
And may I ask that this presentation be 5 minutes or less, since this is one of my items too.
Is there a presentation on that?
Would you like an update?
Yes, we've got one, just for education of the community. One of the homes is fully abandoned for years. There's holes in the exterior walls. Animals are able to go in and out. There's a big beehive in there. Residents have complained about it. Right next to it is another property that has been alleged to have squatters living in it. And so I'd asked our code enforcement department to look into it. And I don't know, close to a year later, I'm hoping tonight that there might be some updates you can provide.
Yes. To the Mayor, Councilman Galvin, this has been an ongoing project through our code enforcement since you did ask for it. And now it has risen to the level through its progressive stages where Mr. Jackson, our building official, met with the property owner in the month of January, who had indicated that he would be submitting plans to remediate this issue. However,
is this the vacant home you're talking about?
This is the vacant home. However, city staff felt not comfortable with him just saying that he was going to do something and decided to move forward in taking it to the county to get authorization at a hearing, because there has to be due process to go ahead and tear down this house. So that's the stage where we are now. So it has been an ongoing progressive stage to the point now Mr. Jackson met with them, and we're going ahead to proceed with Miami-Dade County to a hearing to the proper boards to have the house torn down.
Okay, and so as we don't belabor the evening tonight, will you let me know tomorrow about when that hearing would be held, just so that I can tell the residents in the area?
The month of March, and
Okay.
I'll get you the exact date.
Fine, thank you.
April, I'm being told, I'm sorry. We'll get you the exact date.
Okay.
Tab P.
Oh, no, there was the next house to it, the
13181
Yes.
Northeast. Which one? 1410 Northeast 132nd Road?
Yes, on 1410. Yes, on that particular house, we initially had felt that we had exhausted every effort to determine whether or not the squatter was indeed a squatter or a renter. there were all indications based upon in our legal realm to what we could do was to determine that they were a renter. However, we are now taking the additional steps to locate the owner and to locate to see if there is an actual lease. The property is in foreclosure, so we have to find the owner, and that's what we're in the process of doing. If we contact the owner concurrently while the foreclosure is going forward, if we determine that it is a crime, then we will move forward with the proper steps in removal of the individual. But the paramount thing is to find the owner. So now I've directed the police department to make this a criminal investigation or an inquiry to locate the owner to determine if there is a crime.
Thank you for everything you've done thus far, and hopefully the residents in the area now realize we are taking active steps. Thank you.
Thank you. I just got 2 texts that President Obama talked about the city of North Miami and Ms. Victor. I don't know exactly what he said about the city of North Miami, but maybe
we're one of the 10 best cities in America.
Well, actually, that's it. So hopefully, you know, I guess he spoke for about an hour. We'll get a chance to know exactly what he said about North Miami.
You'll see it in the Herald tomorrow.
Voters turnout.
Huh?
That was probably our voters turnout.
Voters turnout in this. Well, he said, you know, I got 2 texts. Congratulations, the president talked about your city and Miss Victor.
Very good.
And another one said, congratulations, the president talked about Miss Victor and the city of North Miami.
Tab P.
Tab P.
Discussion regarding creation of the 501c3 status of North Miami Educational Foundation, Inc.
Mayor, I respectfully request that we remove this item to allow me to check on the funding from the developer, and I will put it on the next council agenda.
Okay. Tab Q.
Discussion and approval regarding Notre Dame d'Haïti Catholic Church to obtain fee waivers for the use of the North Miami Athletic Stadium and the city's showmobile.
Okay. Yeah, Father Reginald was unable. I'm the sponsor of this item. Basically, I'm asking the city council to waive the fee for Father Reginald to have. I mean, they're building the church down in Little Haiti, although the church is in Little Haiti, but most of his followers live in the city of North Miami. So I'm asking the city council to approve the fee waiver for the showmobile and the stadium to be used by Notre Dame d'Haïti, I think, on April 14th. April 14th. We have a letter from a supporter of Father Reginald, which is from the Citor Joe, requesting that Tab Q be approved. Thousands of residents from the city are attend Notre Dame d'Haïti as their place of worship. Father Reggie has been over this community, has been uplifted the spirit of our residents by guiding them and preparing us all. So she asked that we approve this item. So that's my item. I make a motion to approve it.
I second it.
Okay, has been seconded. Councilman Blinn.
It's okay with me.
Okay, Councilman Gavin.
We don't have any of the backup documentation here that our resolution requires. Why didn't we ask for that backup documentation?
We're just asking for permission to move forward. We know that the pricing extended beyond our approval, so we're putting to yours, and we will ensure that they meet the requirements.
But that's not what our resolution requires. And see, I want to vote yes on things like this. But if we're going to have rules in place, we need to follow our rules all the time. Or we need to change the rules and get rid of those rules. And our rules for waiver of fees and use of facilities, etc., like this, use of showmobile is one of them, require that certain documents be submitted in order to be approved. Those aren't here tonight. I can't vote yes. Not because they're not great and this isn't a great opportunity, but we're again disregarding our own rules.
Sure, and we're working with the applicant to get those documentations, and we were not able to obtain them at this time.
Yeah.
And if those documents don't come forward, then we're going to oppose it subject to complying with the fee waiver documents.
Subject to the compliance.
Okay. Anyone wishes to record a no?
No.
Okay, item passed. Top R.
Discussion and approval regarding Global Harvest Missions, Inc. to obtain fee waiver for the use of the Gwen Margolis Community Center for April 4th and 5th, and the Joe Celestine Center for April 6, 2013.
This is another item request by Reverend Mosey. Basically, he's been in this community for so long, and I think he has a representative here, Pastor Pascal. Pastor Pascal, would you like to address us? And they sent the 501c3 documents to this council. Did you get a copy? Did you get a copy of the 501c3 documents that they submitted to us?
Yes, we did.
So that's a close. Okay, Pastor Mosey.
Well, thank you so much.
And
I'm glad that I was here the whole time to listen to the meetings.
Right.
And which bring us back to why Pastor Mosey come. And Pastor Mosey always come from 2006. He been coming here, but we usually go from church to church. But then this year we wanted to use the city facilities because the Word of God tells us that we have to pray for the peace of the city, and in it we have peace. So we wanted to take it out of the church into praying for our city. This is why we requesting for it.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Glenn?
No question.
Okay, Councilman Marcellus?
Did you just say you move it from church to church to the city because God put in your heart to pray for our city?
Yes.
I think our city needs that too. And I have no questions.
Okay, Councilman Garvin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city attorney. Does this meet the letter of our resolution? There are some documentation here without the resolution in front of me. Does this meet our resolution?
If you would allow me to go through it.
And if it doesn't meet the resolution, we won't be able to grant the fee waiver. If you don't have the resolution here, we could approve it. So, okay, go ahead.
You require 501c3, which is located. It requires the organization's name, address, and phone numbers of the officers and directors, which is not present. It requires that the organization be physically based in North Miami. And it looks like they are not. They are not. But you're not based in North Miami, the organization?
We move from place to place, and then we are being supported by by different churches because it's not just one church doing it. Right now, what I have with me is Prophet Ball, and we go from place to place to do it.
Okay.
So this year, we wanted to concentrate on the city of North Miami.
Okay, well, it requires that there be a physical location in North Miami, and that's not the case.
It requires
that you be physically based in North Miami, that you have an office or your church or whatever the organization is, be a North Miami organization.
Well, we have some of the people that participate are in the city. And we did, Pastor Fanfan is one of the pastors, and Pastor Mire is one of the pastors that supported.
Okay, so we get one of them to send the paperwork.
Yeah, one of them could send
We will try, if it's your desire to approve this, we will attempt to collaborate them with one of our local ministries that would be supporting this.
Okay. What else?
There's a written statement that's required outlining the benefit to the city. There is a written affidavit that's not provided outlining a non-discriminatory policy, and that would be it. So it appears that the application is insufficient.
Is sufficient or is not?
Is insufficient. Is not sufficient.
And I don't want to go off. Obviously, I'll just vote no. But staff, quit doing this to us. You know what our rules are. We've debated this over and over and over for months.
But that one is not staff, it's me. You know,
But then the staff should say to you, wait, we want this to be on the agenda, but they have to fulfill the rules. I mean, it's not your job to know off the top of your head what the rules are. It's their job that they get paid several $100,000, a couple $100,000 a year to know. Then they should say to you, Mr. Mayor, before we can put them on the February agenda, they have to have these documents. And then when they don't, they should say, we'll put it on the next meeting. I just want us to follow the rules. I want to vote yes on all of these things, and I keep having to vote no only because we're not following our own rules. And that I only put back on staff. You know what the rules are. It's not like this is the first time it's come up. It's about the 10th time it's come up now. Please follow the rules.
Well, that one is not on staff, it's on me. As I say, subject to making sure we get all the documents, you know, then, you know, we're going to vote on it, and subject for you to get all the documents, whether Pastor Fanfan, Pastor Mireille. I think Pastor Mireille is one of the pastors that we're going to be honored.
We go to her every year, and we want to Pastor Fanfan.
Right. Okay, no problem. I made the motion. Marcel is seconded. Anyone wish to work it or no?
No.
Okay, item passed. Thank you so much, ma'am. Have a great day. Citizen Forum.
Michael, I did not. Well, I have to back up. I didn't hear Marcellus make the motion, the second on that, and I didn't hear Councilman Blinn vote yea or nay.
He doesn't have to vote yea or nay. I asked anyone wishes to record or no, and you record your no.
Oh,
okay.
I see.
Yes. Citizen Forum.
Hi, good evening again, Joseph Faber. I'm going to beat this horse to death because I think it just needs to be said a few more little points about the water meter issue. I agree with Councilman Galvin. This is not a malicious discrimination, and anybody who calls this a malicious discrimination, in my opinion, is absolutely wrong. This is a simple issue of fairness and what's right for the citizens of North Miami. With respect to the city manager, he said the word regulatory about 25 times when he was answering questions, but I know the difference between regulatory and promulgated, and I'd like to find out whether or not these are promulgated water rates that we are required to charge, or whether or not we actually set the water rates and the fee for the second meter. That's one issue. Another quick approach that could be dealt with before the March council meeting to resolve the one of the questions, which is, would 1 meter versus 2 meter, you know, what's better? What'll cost less? And a simple approach is to generate 2 water bills. One with the total amount of water on 1 meter, and one with 2 meters with the same total amount of water between both of them, and simply compare and contrast them. This could be presented to council, this could be presented to the public, and this could be analyzed and scrutinized before the March meeting so that people are more prepared to talk about this, because this is giving more information to everybody. This is a serious issue. And also, lastly, I would just urge that it be considered that should we change the water bill procedure and policy moving forward and correct it to lower the bills, that it be that the citizens that have paid a higher amount get a retroactive refund and get their water bills in the past recalculated, because I don't think that they should be taxed for this. I don't think it's fair. Again, I go back to what's fair and what's right for the community. Thank you.
Esther Blinn, 1990 Northeast 118th Road. I go back to the water rates. The water rates, when they were presented to us, stated that you would be charged per gallon per usage. I remember very distinctly the mayor saying that it was only fair that if somebody used 1 gallon of water, they should be charged for 1 gallon of water, and if they used $10,000 or $100,000 gallons, they'd be charged accordingly, and the rates would go up per usage to prevent excessive water usage. I had a second water meter installed in the midst of all of this. So I am a test case. Whether I use no water or 1 gallon of water, I get charged, and it's not a base rate, it's an access fee. And I don't think that we should be charged for a second meter in anticipation of what I might use in case I use it, because you should be charged the lowest rate per gallon per second meter. It is only correct. It's not right. The whole purpose of the complying with the regulations was to environmentally be kind to the environment, and it's not happening. So therefore, I agree that we should be charged for what we use, and we should be charged for untreated water at the base lowest rate. I think speculating on what might happen if the city has to charge an access fee. It's not a base rate. You get a base rate on your first meter for what you use. We eliminated the base rate according to what the citizens were told. And as I said, I distinctly remember that, and thinking that I asked, in fact, about what would happen to businesses that require water, hundreds of thousands of gallons, like laundromats. How would public laundries or laundromats where people who don't have their own washer and dryer, how were they going to exist if you're charging per gallon? And we didn't really get an answer. I don't know that any laundries went out of business, but they may charge higher rates to their customers for the use of the water because they depend on hundreds of thousands of gallons of water. I think we should be charged for what we use, not for some speculative thing about and the size of our pipes. That is just not fair.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive, North Miami. Don't want to beat a dead horse, but to continue a little bit of discussion on this water meter episode. Unfortunately, the councilwoman had to leave, and she thought that it was a privilege that people were able to have the privilege of having a second meter in certain areas of the city. Unfortunately, it wasn't a privilege. It was out of necessity. Many of the areas east of the railroad, west of the railroad tracks, go down 8 feet. You have water, and you're able to run at a time. You could put a well in this community for $200, $300, and you could get good, clean well water. And yes, the manager was right. Where some people, the house gets stained, but with the new wells and new filter systems, that doesn't happen. And so actually the majority of the city doesn't have second meters because they have access to the water table very close to the service. You don't have to go down 400 feet like other communities. So in the Keystone area, there's over 900 homes. In the Sans Souci area, there's hundreds of homes, yet in that whole district, it was said that there's only 491 or 480 people that may have a second meter. So there's a great deal of people there who do not, because they don't want to pay the extra fees, or they don't have the pools, or they don't have a sprinkler system like I do. I don't have one either. So I think it's more of a necessity. I don't think it's discriminatory. But at one point in time, when we did a new fee, it was called a capital improvement fee, we made a mistake and charged people, instead of charging just the house, we charged for each meter that was at that house. And if you had 2 meters, your first meter and second meter, you were getting hit with the capital improvement fee. The council quickly or the city staff quickly realized it was a mistake and converted it back, from my understanding, to just one charge per resident, not for both the meters, from what I've been told by staff. So then now we've done away with the capital improvement fee, and it has been incorporated into your global access fee that is spread throughout the whole city. So we really don't know what's going to the capital improvement and what's not. But again, just wanted to say that I never thought it was a privilege to have a second meter. I didn't need it, but some of my neighbors who have it think it's more of a burden than it is to, they would rather put a well system in, which is that water comes out for free as opposed to paying the fees to the city. Thank you very much.
Good evening again. I'm not going to talk about water.
Thank you.
I'm going to talk about tab Q and tab R. It was not open to the public. I'm Roman Catholic. I believe in supporting our churches, but a church on 62nd Street, not in the city. Yeah, maybe some of the parishioners go to that church, but a lot of them go to my church, which is St. Rosalima. So to give the stadium and the showmobile for free, I don't think it's right. The same thing goes for R. I don't believe we should be giving Gwen Margolis Center and Joe Celestine Center for free to people that do not have no organization in our city. They applied and they get it. So I disagree. I think it should have been open to the public, but it wasn't. But I wanted you to hear what I had to say. Thank you.
Citizen Forum is not closed. Just a few things going on. The 5K run walk, I know it's scheduled at the end of the month, and I'm going to challenge the city manager, the city attorney, and the chief of police that if you guys could beat my time, that I'm going to give $1,000 to the organization that you guys raising money for, the Sickle Cell Foundation, right?
If anyone beat your time, or just the three people that you called?
You and the chief. Is that a challenge?
Is that running, biking?
Running.
Can I bike?
Mr. City Manager.
No problem. I'm already working on an 8-pound loss and counting.
Okay. So if you win, I give $1,000, and if you lose, you give $1,000.
I decline to accept that offer. Thank you.
So you take that offer?
No. I decline.
Well, I challenge you anyway. I think this is the first time that we're doing this in the city. I think it's great that, we get a chance, the city employee and the city residents, to be involved in that kind of activity. So I think, especially you guys are raising funds for a great organization. So I will definitely donate my own money, my own time, and of course, participate in that 5K run walk that we have at the end of February. The Beth Moshe has been having different events for the last year, and we have not really sponsored any of their events. I know Councilman Blinn, you're there. You have never really come forward and asked to sponsor their events, but they have an event on February 23rd. I know we just sponsored the Jewish Federation for $2,500, which was an excellent event. And that keynote speaker, I'm trying to get his speech. I mean, that guy was amazing, and amazing in terms of how he speaks eloquently about, us being different, but at the same time, having a common goal. So do you guys mind $2,500 to the Masquerade Ball for Beth Moshe?
I'll motion for that.
Okay, you motion for that, and I'll second it.
Just a question.
Sure.
Regarding rules and procedures. Sorry, I'm going to harp on it each and every time.
Mm-hmm.
Madam City Attorney, does approving this tonight fall within our guidelines and rules for sponsorships?
It's just giving $2,500 to
This motion meets all the requirements.
Beth Mosher
I don't think we have
event on
any
February
documents.
23rd. So
We don't have any documents. We don't. So I would say no.
Sorry, Rabbi
Okay.
Lang, I'll be voting no.
Why would you say no when I've been a director there and I know it meets all the documents?
But that's
Right.
Take
that's
my word
the thing,
for it.
Michael. That's the difference.
We
There's-
take- we-
you might know that they're going to do it. I have no doubt the Catholic Church, for instance,
They
is
meet
a
all the
real.
documents too, the Catholic Church.
But
Right.
that's why I'm saying I'm going to vote. I voted against it for the Catholic
Okay.
Church. I'm going to vote against
So-
it for the synagogue on the same principle.
motion for $2,500 and make sure they meet all the requirements. Motion was made. I second that motion. Anyone wishes to work it or no?
No.
Okay, item pass.
Are there any puppies or small
Okay.
children I can vote against tonight too?
There is the swearing ceremony for the North Miami Police Department, which is scheduled on February 22nd at 10 a.m. at the North Miami Senior High School. Basically, I think there's about 5 officers and
Several sergeants.
right and a
And
commander
commander.
that will get sworn in on February 22nd at the North Miami Senior High School. They usually, half pack the stadium. I mean the auditorium, which can hold about 1,000 people, and usually there's about 400 or 500 people at that ceremony. So we invite the community to be part of the North Miami Police Department promotional ceremony. And don't forget, the main event is this Thursday, which is Valentine's Day. And I heard is it Hug Day on February 14th? Hug Day or Kiss Day, or there's something else
both.
beside Valentine, right? But you could do both on Valentine's Day. So on Thursday, we honoring our Black pioneers, and that is scheduled here at City Council from 12 till 1:30. Councilman Blinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to bring up something that is important to me. I've served on the South Florida Regional Planning Council for 13 years, and I've been its chairman. And I just noticed in the last meeting, the city of Fort Lauderdale has something called a Smart Watts Home Energy Refit Program. And if we enter this program, and I'll give you a copy of it, we can get the following. We will get home energy workshops, Smart Watts rebates, Smart Watts small business rebates, home energy loans between $2,500 to $10,000 to our city residents. So I'm going to give you this and ask you to join that program. This is could save the citizens many thousands of dollars. I also want to indicate from the National League of Cities, which I've been a member of since I've been on the 14 years I've been here. We not only have that prescription judge program, which we brought up in the beginning, but we also have a utility repair home program, which I will give you the information about, where people can get repairs to their residents for very low cost. There's also a program where they will do a opinion in the city on something you want an opinion on, also very low cost. They also have a downtown redevelopment program for very low cost. And they also have, something called Kaboom, which does park improvements for free. We've discussed this before, and we really should pursue that. But we also have Playful US City, which we became a member of. And you can renew our membership for $1,999. And you will enter the Contest for America in Bloom for a beautification program throughout the city for that amount of money. The city will just be planted with flowers, vegetables, trees, and bushes, all for that amount of money. It's probably worth 10 times that amount to beautify the city. And one other thing I want to mention, and I keep on mentioning it to you after year, is a grant writer. The grant writer will help us with the Biscayne Landing funds. I am positive whatever we pay somebody, we'll get 10 times that amount of money out of those funds at Biscayne Landings. Instead of spending $100,000 on something, we could get $400,000 in loans and $100,000 in city money. And we're not doing that, Mr. Manager. And it's important that we maximize the benefit of those monies. So please pursue that, and I'll give you the information at the end of the meeting.
He's been asking for that grant writer, what do we need to do? I mean, do we need to create that on budget? Is it our decision or your decision?
Mayor, whatever money we have the budget, we should really
we
consider it.
We are applying for grants.
Okay.
We want a full-time grant writer.
Okay, full-time grant writer. What does it take for us to create that position?
It's not economically feasible because we have people in-house that are applying for every grant.
But it is economically feasible. The person would pay for itself 5 or 10 times over.
But what I'm saying through the mayor, Councilman Bland, we are doing our grants in-house. So we are actively working on several grants that just came to my attention, and we are doing it. Staff is doing it. So to hire a grants writer specifically to do that, Natasha Colebrook is back. She is working on a grant now. We extended that role to our governmental affairs person who is now doing grants. We are looking at a parks person that we're bringing on board who's going to also be doing the type of grants that you're asking for. So to bring on and hire a staff person to do that is extra money.
Please
we're going to be
monitor
doing
them.
it in-house.
Monitor them and report back to me. I want to know how
Sure.
successful they
And
are.
at the police department, we have a
I know you have a
grants writer.
full-time grant writer
Sure,
there.
and the same thing with Parks and Recreation. We're looking to bring on a person that would have a dual role, along with Natasha Colebrook.
And Mocha just hired a full-time grant writer.
Absolutely. So to
But
hire
if they're not
someone,
doing an adequate job, I want a professional grant writer to replace them.
If you would like, I would share the progress with that.
I would
with you.
really appreciate if you would share the progress.
But we're trying to accomplish what you're asking as economical as possible.
And I would like the report on the
Sure.
water rates debacle we have in this city on March 12th. That's the next, the first council meeting in March. It's March 12th.
Through the mayor, councilman, we will do that. We're going to be reaching out to our consultant,
Yeah.
and a lot of
Do
that
it.
is predicated on how long the study would take. We will press upon them to have everything done comprehensively.
On that date,
Yes,
right
we
before
would do
that
our
date.
we would do our
Right.
best.
Thank you.
Councilman Marsalis?
No report.
Councilman Galvin?
No report. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Okay, city clerks?
I have two brief announcements. The first announcement is that our first, apparently ever, city clerk public notices went out this past weekend. I underestimated the amount of North Miami residents who has my personal cell phone number, because my number, the phone just been blowing up. And we got a lot of good feedback. And of course, it's my job to increase the government transparency. I want to thank the mayor for encouraging me to send out public notices to inform the community as to what is going on. And again, the mayor is very hard on the clerk's office, but with his pressure, we do what we can to put out notices. So I'm happy the community received it. Hopefully, we can send it out annually, or at least biannually, so that we can make sure we keep the community informed. The second announcement is FIU has reached out to the clerk's department. For those who don't know, we have a pilot internship program. We're going to be teaming up with FIU, and they're going to start sending official interns to the clerk's office and possibly issue credit hours for students who interns there. So it's been going on. We launched it, and apparently it's a successful program so far. And we're hoping that we can kind of keep that going, and we're targeting North Miami resident students so that they can have experience working in a municipality, so that when they finally do graduate, they can include that on their resume and hopefully help land them a job. The last announcement is I want to, of course, congratulate Lewis. He's our city interpreter. He's a remarkable addition to our clerk office down there. He started his CMC schooling, Certified Municipal Clerk Schooling, through the clerk's office. He's effectively the number 2 at the clerk's office, and he's the one who's heading up this FIU internship program, and he's been doing a remarkable job down at our clerk's office. And I don't know what we'll do without him. He is a remarkable asset, and hopefully we'll have an additional municipal clerk, certified municipal clerk within the city clerk's office, maybe within a year or two. So that's my announcement, and happy Valentine's Day.
Well, again, thank you, Michael. I have to say, your newsletter came out. I got it on Saturday afternoon. I mean, nice layout, well put together. The 3 languages, I don't know if you translate all, both English, Spanish, and Creole. I mean, that's very nice. the level of services that you have provided in that office, never before. And now I think you went forward and beginning the process of expunging and sealing of records of people with either minor conviction or the cases with no pause. I think which is the services that should be provided by the courts itself, because if the cases were no pause, that meant that these people were arrested in the first place, that there was not enough evidence to arrest them. So your office is doing it, and I think it's great. The notary service, excellent. I mean, soon, I think you're probably going to start doing immigration papers at that office. City Attorney's report?
None, thank you.
City Manager?
Yes, Mayor and Council. We wanted to report that in terms of the GOB bond passed by the school board, we met with the school board to determine how those funds or that approval on that vote would impact North Miami residents. We learned that they planned by 2014 to build a new K through 8 at Benjamin Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
We will be putting a link on our website for all of the work that they would be doing with that bond money in the city of North Miami. But that's the major impact that the school board will be doing. We met with Bank of America. As you know, Bank of America is the account holder for the city, being that we have Biscayne Landing funds there. We met with them to get further enhancements and a better service for our city. We're looking at several things, including an ATM machine from Bank of America, also a system where for years our officers have been acting as armored guard barriers, where Bank of America will provide a service that will allow that pickup to be done here at City Hall, making our officers a lot safe.
Wow.
Also, we met in our conversations with Bank of America through the city attorney's office on the initiative that we have to deal with our blight foreclosure issues throughout the city. Bank of America in that meeting was very productive, where we're trying to get homes donated to the city. We will be coming back to council to further up report on that. But more importantly, our initiative to get police officers to live in the city of North Miami, they are preliminary in agreement to give homes to a nonprofit, which we had chose the Police Athletic League. And in return, the officers will be given those homes free of charge. Of course, the only mortgage it would be is to upgrade those houses. And in return, we would put a time frame, bringing this back to council for approval, but they would have to remain a resident in the city and then give hours to our Police Athletic League program. So that will allow officers to live in the city. We have more visibility in the city, and officers will encouraged to be a residents here. So those are some of the positive things we've been working on over the past several months, but they did, and they are coming to fruition.
Good. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Happy Valentine's Day. And most of you, I see you at dinner with your spouse, with your significant other. And some of you, I see you in the city of North Miami on Thursday for lunchtime. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of it.